Welcome to a new set review. Today we're going to take a look at the new OCG set Genesis Impactors, which is going to come out to the TCG around the start of December. Now, this set, for anybody who's not familiar with sets like this, is pretty much just like Secret Slayers in terms of its idea. 3 new archetypes are being introduced or getting support in this set. While it's not as strong as Secret Slayers, it's still a very fun set. So we have 36 new cards to look for, so we probably have a little bit of work to go through. But before we jump right into the video, I'm going to remind you the usual thing that a subscriber a day keep the depression away, and if you want to help the channel and support me generally and check me on social media, I will muchly appreciate it, because the more the numbers will grow, the better content I want to make. Pretty simple on that line. And another thing that I'm going to ask you, which is a little bit more on the important side for me, is that there's a friend of mine called AleksisYT, which is in a little bit of a financial crisis at the moment. So if you want to donate her or essentially help her, I'm not going to go into detail why so much, but she needs a little bit of your help. So if you want to donate to her or purchase from her art, I'll be very much appreciated. I'm going to purchase from her art the moment I will have the ability to anyway. So just to let you know about that, and I think it's just very important. Her links should be in the description. But now let's jump right into the set. For the first one we're going to look at is probably the archetype that I'm mostly excited about, which is Magistus. Magistus is a bunch of spellcasters that using their effects to equip themselves extra deck monsters and grant themselves additional benefits. In terms of lore-wise, this archetype is supposed to be the past of the known archetypes at the moment: Witchcrafter, Invoked, and Endymion. The fourth one, which is the fire guy, Zoroa, which we'll get to him, is kind of not really much known what his past. But the point is, it's supposed to be the past of these guys. And the archetype itself contains 4 main deck monsters, 4 extra deck monsters, and 4 spells at the moment. So let's get started with them. So starting things off, we're going to look at Crowley and Vare, which both of these share the same effect, and they're supposed to be pretty much giving you the ability to banish from your graveyard themselves to target 1 Magistus monster on the field and equip 1 Magistus monster from your graveyard to that monster on the field, except at level 4. So there's their entire gimmick. These two share the effect that they're pretty much better in the graveyard to give you the equips from the graveyard. In case of Crowley, however, he also can special summon himself by sending from your hand or field a spellcaster monster, and he can also change his attribute to whatever you want, which is also pretty nice. Vare, which is the girl, she able to give you a normal, or when she's normal or special summon, to either search a Magistus spell or trap, or return 1 of your level 4 banished to the graveyard. So that's pretty good. She also giving you recovery, but for the most part, let's be honest, you want to look into the search. The second 2 monsters, which is the 2 and the 4th one, are Endymion and Zoroa. Endymion is the one in the farthest right, and he's specifically kind of the worst equip out of both of them, but he's still pretty good. Both of them share the similar effect that they're allowing themselves to equip right from the extra deck a Magistus monster to a Magistus monster on the field, including themselves. Endymion has the effect to pretty much giving you whenever you want to destroy a face-up spell you control and draw a card, but put 1 on the bottom afterwards. So this effect is kind of like okay, but I don't really know why you want to destroy your own equip cards for the most part. But I guess advantage is nice, but for the most part it's also kind of bad because you kind of have to put a card on the bottom of your deck. But I guess it's also not the worst because you can equip really easily back. I kind of really have a hard time of feeling about them. However, the fire guy, Zoroa, has a very good effect, because when he also, not only he's a tuner, but when he's getting equipped with a spellcaster, right? Or should I say with a Magistus card, my apologies, he getting to special summon a level 4 spellcaster from your hand or graveyard, which is effect negated, but still, it's either giving you a rank 4, it's either giving you a level synchro level 8, or it's giving you any other things that you wish. It's just kind of like how should I say, kind of like a Monster Reborn or Special Summon from Hand effect, which is really cool. As for the next part we're going to look at, we're going to actually look at the spells rather than just look at the extra deck monsters, because I think looking at the spells will give you a little bit more of a better understanding. For the first spell we're going to look at is the continuous spell, Trice. Trice allows you to special summon a level 4 or 4 spellcaster, not lower, just level 4 spellcaster from your hand, or, if it's on the field, send it to the graveyard, and then special summon any number of Magistus monsters with different names from your hand. So you can choose any ones that you want. If you just have one, or should I say two, and you want to summon just one, you can do that. Although most of the time you want to summon multiples of them anyway. Regardless, it's also have a nice protection effect on the field, which is protection for the first time by battle if a Magistus monster is equipped with an equip. So yeah, it's not the best, but it's still giving you some kind of a thing. As for the next spell, which is a quick play, Theologia, which is a little bit hard for me to pronounce. I always have a hard time to pronounce TH. But anyway, this one is a quick play spell that lets you to equip any Magistus monster from your extra deck that is not a level 4 from your field, graveyard, or extra deck to any Magistus monster. But if you have all of the extra deck Magistus monsters in the graveyard, with different, of course, the types, which is Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, and Link, you can equip anything out of your extra deck, which is a pretty nice benefit, I guess, but at the moment, I'm not really 100% sure if there is any monster from the extra deck that you want to equip with a really broke effect. If you do know one of these, let me know in the comments down below, because at this moment, I'm not really sure there is anyone that I can think that is really good. Next spell is the on-archetype Invocation, which allows you to fusion from the hand or field if you include a spellcaster monster. However, if you fusion summon a Magistus, you can also use equipped Magistus monster as a material, giving you the ability to use less resources and just, maybe even use just your 2 equips and summon the big fusion, which is pretty insane as you see. Also, because of Vary also being a light, I'm going to put it right now, this can also be just a very great boosting engine for a deck like Shadows, because this is just a searchable fusion spell by here, and all of the Shadow monsters are spellcasters. So, just going to give a fruit for thought for that. Lastly, we have Veritra. It's a monster reborn for your level 4 Magistus monsters, and also have a nice built-in protection for your Magistus cards in the spell and trap zone. And that's it for the spells. For the extra deck, first off, we have the Link 1, which I'm going to look at, which is requiring a level 4 or lower spellcaster. It's giving you the ability that once per turn, if another Magistus is normal special summon, equip herself from the field to one of the summoned monsters, and then, whenever you want to, of course, you can also search a Magistus monster the turn she was equipped. Second one is the Xyz monster, which is kind of require 2 level 4 spellcasters, and she recover for you level 4 or lower spellcaster from the graveyard by detaching a material. On top of that, she has pretty nice equip effects, which are when she's equipped, a monster equipped with her can attack twice, and if she's equipped, she can pop a Magistus card in the back row and pop 1 card of your opponent's back row on top of that, which making her pretty useful. The Synchro monster, the Synchro Dragon, give you the ability to give you protection effects. He's mostly giving you protection effects while equipped, mostly from destruction by spells and traps of your opponent, as well destroy an opponent monster battling a monster equipped with him. His last effect is interesting, but really not that good, and that if a Synchro Summon card was destroyed, if he was Synchro Summoned and it was destroyed, he will destroy your opponent's entire field completely, which could be achievable in this archetype, but I'm not sure how much easy that is. The last one, which is the Fusion, which in my opinion the most powerful one, this one giving you the ability to be summoned, or should I say, it's summoned by using a Magistus and a Spellcaster. And this one, as a quick effect, can equip itself to any monster on the field, and if you equip it to an opponent monster, you take it to yourself, but negates the effect. Also, you give any monster equipped with him an additional 1000 attack and defense, making this card just a snatch still during your opponent's turn as well, which is a really good thing, and you can just take few things that are very important, just like Hacky Fibrax, which is really cool. Now, as you can see right now, this archetype is really good to be part of others, and the archetypes that I feel like, just by itself, it's not really powerful, but archetypes I can think of spellcasters at the moment that can take a benefit is Witchcrafters, because of some of the so-called special summoning effects, and the fact that you can discard them or use them, and all of the overall spell, they can take a little bit of advantage of that, and the fact that also Artemists require a level 4 spellcaster is also very, very nice for them. Shadows, which I already mentioned, Dragmatica, because it's freaking Dragmatica, I need to mention that, and Invoked a little bit because of Crowley, but yeah, for the most part, these are just taking a lot of giving a lot of advantage for additional spellcaster decks, which is really cool. But what do I think on the archetype overall? Well, in terms of engine archetype, I think it has the best chance out of all of them if it's in a combination with another spellcaster archetype, like I mentioned. However, in terms of rating, I'm going to give Ver, The Link, Zora, Fusion, Invocation, and Endymion all 4 stars. These all are either great starters, while Zora is better than Endymion. Endymion is still a starter for your essentially gaining the, what are called, the extra deck monsters to your graveyard, which is really, really good for the core strategy. So yeah, I think these four, like all of these cards that I mentioned deserve a 4 stars because they're really, really good. The next card I'm going to put on this list, Trice and the Synchro, I'm going to give out 2 stars. While Trice is really cool for a continuous spell with the special summoning effect, it's not really that powerful and doesn't really give you that much in my opinion. Like, don't get me wrong, it does give you, but I don't think it's give you enough. And as the Synchro itself, well, the protection effects are really, really cool. I don't think it's the most insane thing in the world. So for these two, while they are going to be useful, I'm going to give both of them 2 stars. As for the rest, I'm going to give 3 stars because I think they're just really, really cool for just giving you additional tools to use. They're not as good as the 4-star cards, but still very, very nice. And that is my rating for, Magistus. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and if you think there's something that I'm essentially missing. Next up we have Evil Twin, which is a very interesting archetype, which is kind of feel like Magistus more being an engine rather than just being its own archetype by playing pure, but probably more linear, as you're probably going to see. So first and foremost, we have 2 main deck monsters, which both of them kind of serve the same effect, which I'm not going to, kind of like mention that much. I'm going to call them the pink and the blue. So both of them give you the ability, when you control no other monsters and they're summoned, they give you the ability to summon the other one from the deck, just like lefty and righty drivers. In the case of pink, every time your opponent attack with a monster, you gain 500 attack, and blue make them pay 500, which is weird effects, but I guess it doesn't really matter because you're mostly going to use them for their links, which are, these 2 others, like I said, pink and blue links. Links, again, kind of serve the same effects for the most part. They both need their own monster name as one of their parts, and they require 2 monsters, including one of their names. So pink require pink to summon at the very least, and blue require blue. Both of them has the same effect, that is a quick effect to let you special summon the other out of the graveyard if you do not control one. So that's really, really cool. So you have the ability to just bring them back. However, you do lock yourself for the extra deck to only fiend monsters for the rest of the turn. But for the most part, you don't really care about this, because this archetype is 1 card, as you're going to see, 1 card, Unchained Abomination on a Nightmare Griffin, which is really, really cool. So in case of their individual effects, the pink one, when it's summoned and you control the other one on the field when it's summoned, you get to draw a card. And the blue one, when you get to summon it while you control the pink one on the field, you get to pop a card on the field, which is really, really nice. And as you can see already, this is really, really nice benefits for decks like Unchained, which is just really, really cool. Next up, we have pretty much the boss of the archetype, which is a level 8 Fiend that require you to tribute 2 links and summon it from the hand or graveyard. While the cost does seem high, the effect is pretty nice by making all of your opponent, or should I say, making your opponent sending all of their cards except 2 to the graveyard, and just gaining 2200 attack into, if you have the 2 other names in the graveyard, which is really, really cool. So if you have pink and blue in any form in the graveyard and this one is on the field, she becomes 4400 attack. So that's really, really nice. However, I'm not really sure if it's really that practical, and if even, it's probably just going to be a good go second card rather than anything else. So that's it for the monsters of the archetypes. Now we have the spells and traps. So for the spells, we have 3 spells, which are Entrance, which is kind of a worse kind of Signet Mining in a way, kind of, but not really, because it does summon one of the names from your deck, like either pink or blue. But the downside of this one is that it not only locks you into Fiends, but it's locking you only for the archetype in the extra deck for the rest of the turn. It's also require you to discard like Signet Mining, and because of the fact that it locks you to the archetype itself only and not just Fiends, this card is probably not going to see any play, just because of that effect. Secondly, we have the Field Spell, which is probably the worst field spell I ever seen in a while. Like, just one of the worst ones. And this one, just so bad. Like, Channel is so terrible. It's allowing you to essentially tribute a monster to pretty much negate an attack, and not an effect, but an attack, which is very, very slow. And then during the end phase, it's kind of have like a weird resort shuffling effect, that it's not mandatory, but you can shuffle one of those names into the deck, but if you control no monsters, you get to recycle one of these, like the card you chose, to your hand instead, which is, again, like I said, pretty much a bad field spell. However, the last spell, Secret, is pretty good. Secret led you to search one evil twin, spell or trap to your hand, and if you control both of the names of the monsters, which is pink and blue, you get to add to your hand a monster instead, which is an evil twin monster, so you get a search for the big deck boss monster, which is pretty cool. As for the kind of the moment right now, we do not really have evil twin spells, but we do have traps. And for the traps, we have Challenge, which is the first one. Challenge is a monster reborn that lets you immediately after its effect resolve to, if you want to, link summon using monsters that you control, which is really, really cool. So it's giving you the ability to be flexible with your link summoning. Now, of course, one of also really, really cool about this that you don't have to do that, and also just immediately as a quick effect, summon one of the so-called others. Like, let's say you do not control, for example, blue. When you summon, pink out of your deck, out of your graveyard, this will allow you as a quick effect to summon her immediately and use her as an interruption, which is really, really cool. So yeah, I like this card quite a bit. As for Easy Game, is a continuous spell that lets you to tribute one of your names, or should I say like pink or blue, and then boost a monster by the monster of the archetype tributed, which most of the time is going to be 1100 until the end of the turn, or negate and destruction effect. This is going to happen. Lastly, we have Present, which require you to control both of the names, which is blue and pink, or the boss monster, obviously, because the boss monster count as both. And then you get to switch control of one of your monsters or shuffle a set card your opponent control into the deck, which is, in my opinion, pretty underwhelming. Now, overall for this archetype, it's pretty fast forward, unlike Magistus, because it's really, really easy to understand for the most part what you're doing. But this archetype, as I looked at it, was very, very underwhelming. For the most part of what I've seen and what I experimented with, you do not really want to play this pure, and mostly you want to use this as an engine in Fiend decks. Mostly for the moment right now, I'm finding this really useful in Unchained, but maybe I will find this useful in Abyss Actors, but I do think the only reason why this is so good is because in Unchained, it's blue give you the effect, or blue link give you the effect to pop stuff if you need to, and pink, if you do not get the effect, of course, of blue and you don't really need that, you get to draw, which is also really nice, and then they become one card Fiend engine of summoning Unchained Abomination, which is really, really cool. So as for the rating themselves, I'm going to say this. The card that I mentioned, which are the two main deck monsters, the blue and pink, as well as their counterpart links, all of these are 3 stars because they're really, really good. They're just a very, very nice boost for Unchained. As for Secret, the boss monster, and Challenge, they are really, really cool. Like Secret, which got revealed recently, got me to consider the two other cards which I mentioned, which are Challenge and the Big Boss Monster. While the Big Boss Monster is mostly good for going second rather than anything else, the point is, Secret is good enough to essentially want me to consider these because Secret is just a nice search effect. So I might go into essentially mess up with that. And because of that, these cards, while not good in my opinion compared to the rest of these, I'm going to give them 2 stars just because of out of potential. Because I'm not really 100% sure that this is even going to make it into the Enchained list. Which I'm going to say once again, this is the best way to play this deck. So yeah. The rest, I'm going to give 1 star, because all of them, or should I say the rest of the spell and trap, are either requiring of you way too much, or their effects are just very, very much underwhelming and not really that good. So, yeah. Unfortunately, Evil Twins kind of disappoints me. But, like I said, at the very least, you get a very, very nice boost to Unchained. Lastly, the most easiest archetype out of these 3 to explain. As you can see, we're going down in difficulty of explanation, and the archetype that I'm talking about is the new Ritual archetype, Draitron. Now, Draitron are a very weird but very interesting archetype. All of their main deck monsters lock you into special summon only monsters that cannot be normal summon or set, so either extra deck or ritual monsters. While you do have the ability to normal monsters, you're mostly not going to do that in this archetype. Also, on top of that, all of them cannot be summoned unless they use a Draitron effect to summon them. So, all of the main deck monsters share that effect, but they can all summon themselves by sending or tributing a ritual monster or a Draitron monster from your hand or field to the graveyard. So yeah, it's just giving you the ability to summon them really easily. As for the monsters themselves, well, all of them, when they're summoned, they're getting a particular effect. In the case of Alpha, you search a ritual monster. In the case of Beta, you return one of your banished Draitrons into the graveyard, so you can use that later, and this will become a little bit more apparent when we'll see later, but this is pretty much what Beta does. Gamma is a monster reborn for your Draitrons, so it does count as a Draitron effect, so if you're trying to summon a Draitron that you sent from your hand to the graveyard, you could, because this does count as a Draitron summoning effect, so that's really, really cool. Fourth one is Delta, which allowing you to reveal either a ritual monster or a ritual spell, and give you the ability to draw a card. And lastly, the final main deck monster is Zeta, which allowing you to search ritual spells. Now, just like Magistus, before we'll jump on into the rituals themselves, I think it will be better to essentially talk about the spells and traps first, because that will make you understand how the deck works better. So first off, we have the field spell, Fafnir. Fafnir allow you to search a Draitron spell or trap, which is really good. And on top of that, it has kind of like a magical meltdown effect for your ritual spells, so your opponent cannot activate effect in reaction to your fusion for your ritual spells. I just said fusion because I'm so much used to invocation. But yeah, that's pretty much what it does. Then it's also have the ability to kind of like reduce the level of a monster by each of its attack, or should I say, reduce a level by 1 for the monster for each level, for each attack, 1,000 attack it got. So for example, if it got 4,000 attack, you can reduce it from example, from a level 12 to a level 8, which I'm not really sure how much useful that is, but I guess it's something. Next up, we have the Rituals spell, which is Metornis. Always have a hard time to pronouncing this one. This one made it to the top list in my best ritual spells in the Coalition of Scrubs. If you haven't checked that out already, sorry, but yeah, this is made up to the top for a very good reason. This card is pretty much invocation for rituals. Well, not as, kind of like, open as invocation and more restrictive, it's still a very, very good card. This one allowing you to ritual summon from your hand or graveyard, which is already a great start, by tributing machine monsters with attack equal or exceeding the monster that you're trying to ritual summon. So for example, you probably wonder to yourself why the Draitron rituals have 12 levels and the monsters only have 1. Well, it's because you're using the attack for the ritual rather than using the levels, which is a very, very cool gimmick. Also, the other effect is really, really cool as well. You get a Draitron monster to lose 1,000 attack, and then you get to recover it back, which is really, really good. So the card itself is absolutely amazing for what it does. It has great recovery in the graveyard. It can ritual summon from the hand or graveyard, and it's allowing you to summon it very, very easily, even in different archetypes while not useful in them. But you know what I mean. It's just, even if you're playing this in different archetypes, this is actually a ridiculous card. So if you have another machine ritual archetypes in the future, this will be really, really cool. So I'm liking that one. Next up, we have Nova, which is pretty much the archetype version of Quick Launch, or Italy, whatever you prefer. Then you have Eclipse, which is getting you a Draitron out of your graveyard to your hand, and then a turn after it was sent to the graveyard, it's allowing you to boost a Draitron monster attack by 2000 until the end of your opponent's next turn, just like the ritual spell, which I forgot to mention, because the monster losing 1000 attack until the end of opponent's next turn, which I forgot to mention. So it's pretty interesting, but I'm not sure is that good. Asterism is a quick play spell that lets you to target a ritual or a Draitron and make it lose 1000 attack, and then destroy one monster your opponent controls, which is a very, very nice removal. And lastly, Meteor is pretty much Solemn Strike of sort, or should I say, sorry, Solemn Warning of sort, which is really, really cool if you control a ritual monster, so that's really, really nice. And you're also shuffling the monster back into the deck, which is also on top of that really, really cool. So that's it for the spells and traps. As for the ritual monsters themselves, well, first off, you have the best one in my opinion, DRA, which is the one that pretty much can attack all special summon monsters your opponent control once each. And if it was summoned by using the total level of the monsters was 2 or less, so that's why it's come for the attack, he's protected from your opponent's monster's targeting effects, which is really, really cool. Secondly, like I said, can attack all special summon monsters your opponent control once each. And lastly, his effect allowing you to pretty much banish from your graveyard a total of monsters with a monster with a total attack of 2000 or 4000, and then for each 2000, pretty much target a card on the field and send it to the graveyard, which not only make it into a stupid big boss effect, but like, you know, big boss attack phase for OTK. No, it's also making him into a nice control tool if you need to go to the next turn, or should I say going first, or you know how that goes. However, QUA unfortunately is a little bit worse. Well, it does have the protection effect without the for spells and traps, without targeting for spells and traps, without the level 2 or lower. His effects are a little bit worse, because if you use a level 2 or lowers for the ritual summon, or should I say, like, you know, just use 2 monsters, which is total level 2 or lower overall, he get the ability to pretty much like a nice effect to special summon from the graveyard when he's destroyed, which is pretty nice, I guess, but it's not really that great. And the last effect is in allowing you to destroy the entire back row, which is really, really cool. Yeah, I'm pretty sure out of both of the rituals, this is pretty much the worst out of all of them. So yeah, Draitron is an interesting archetype. It's an archetype of rituals that require non-summonable machines, which making cyber emergency searching them, and also just require you to, with a total of overall summoning the ritual monsters with total or overall level of 2 or less to get additional benefits. So overall, if you're looking to an archetype that is just good straight out of the box, out of all of these, and just doesn't really need any help, well, you look no further than Draitrons. Draitrons is probably your best bet for this one. And Draitrons are pretty much the most consistent, like I said, out of the box. So yeah, they're really, really cool. So as for the rating themselves, I'm going to give Alpha, Gamma, Zeta, DRA, Field Spell, Ritual, and Nova, all of these cards 4 stars. They're really powerful. They're good to make the deck consistent, so getting searches, and you have a very, very nice boss monster that is just very nice at the end, even going first and going to more of a control matchup. As for the counter trap and the quick play spell, I'm going to give them 3 stars because they're nice removal tools, can be useful for going first and even second in some case of the quick play, and just really, really nice. For the rest, which are Beta, Delta, Q, and QUA, I'm going to give 2 stars because these are a little bit worse. The effect of Beta to return cards from the banish to the graveyard is pretty nice. Delta is giving you a nice, draw, and QUA is okay. But I think overall, Draitrons just already have, with even them, like really, really good tools. And I like this archetype overall. So overall, like I said, Magistus is just good to equip with additional, or should I say, fuse with additional spellcaster archetypes. Evil Twins is good to combine with Unchained, and Draitrons is the strongest one, just coming out of the box individually. And that's pretty much it for the set review. So yeah, 3 very, very awesome archetypes. Like I said, not strong as Secret Slayers, but still very, very fun. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below about my review, as well as just trying to see what you think, if you think the card is a little bit stronger than the others. But for the most part, I think I gave a good reasoning. With that being said, see you all next time. Remember, creativity is the key in this game. Have a good day, stay safe, and see you next time. Like I said, bye-bye.